Welcome to Wise Words, a podcast of Sophia Baptist Church. I'm Pastor-Teacher Jonathan Burris. Today, we discuss a crisis of identity, conscience, and character. This episode requires a bit of background. So, to quote from the greatest movie of all time, The Princess Bride,
"Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
A Randolph County grandmother went to the Asheboro branch of the public library, entered the children's room, selected a number of books from the children's collection, checked them out, and brought them home for her grandchildren. Her daughter, the children's mother, began to read the books. She was shocked and appalled as she began to read a book titled Call Me Max. The book is written by a biological female who identifies as a trans male and goes by the name Kyle Lukoff. Why did Lukoff write Call Me Max? The author's stated intent was to create an age-appropriate introduction to transgender identity for young children, written to normalize everyday experiences. Lukoff is a transgender author and former librarian whose self-defined mission is to advance transgender visibility through youth literature while challenging societal discomfort. This information is publicly available on the author's website, kylelukoff.com. The grandmother and mother reported the book as inappropriate for 5 to 7-year-olds and requested its removal from the children's collection in the Randolph County Public Library. That initial request was denied in writing by the director of the library, Ross Holt. The ladies requested an appeal where the entire Randolph County Public Library Board of Directors would review and rule on the book. The caveat being that once the book is reviewed by appeal, it cannot be reconsidered for 5 years. This past Monday was the first Monday of the month. This was the regular scheduled meeting of the Randolph County Board of Commissioners. The events I described so far were shared by my pastor's group by the mother who discovered Call Me Max, as well as the response letter from Director Holt that she shared on Facebook. A number of us discussed the proper approach to this situation, and it was determined that we would make the county commissioners aware of the situation, with full understanding that the library board of directors would need to issue their appeal before anything else could be done. I made the decision to go to the commissioners' meeting on Monday and speak during the public comment section. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Here is my address to the commissioners at that meeting.
Jonathan Burris.
My name is Jonathan Burris. I'm the pastor-teacher at Sophia Baptist Church. I'm before you to address the shocking letter from Randolph County Library Director Ross Holt regarding the book Call Me Max in the children's room. Holt describes Call Me Max as appropriately selected for the children's collection. This, along with Miss Martin's choice to place it in the children's room, causes me to question their judgment. Further, Holt's attempt to justify the book's inclusion by noting its presence in the Chatham County Library and recommendations of the SLJ, which often categorizes books into categories such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, was nothing short of confirmation bias that failed to disclose the controversy that we see in states like Texas and Utah, where a third grade read aloud was canceled because this book was deemed inappropriate to be read to 8 and 9-year-olds. So why write a book on sexual identity targeting 5 to 7-year-olds? Psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg says that by 5 to 6, most children achieve gender constancy. They recognize the categories of boy things and girl things. Sociologist Charles Cooley wrote that children form a looking glass self and develop identity based on the world they are introduced to. Psychoanalyst Erik Erikson said that children at this age form group-oriented identities, which, if neglected, results in a lifelong inferiority in children who do not feel as if they are a part of any group or any family or class. Psychologists identify introducing adult themes to children prematurely as a red flag for predatory or sexual grooming. Grooming is recognized as a child sexual abuse tactic in laws like the 2006 Adam Walsh Child Protection Act. So why did Lukoff write Call Me Max? The author's stated intent was to create an age-appropriate introduction to transgender identity for young children written to normalize everyday experiences. Lukoff is a transgender author and former librarian whose defined mission is to advance transgender visibility through youth literature while challenging societal discomfort. All of this is on the author's website at kylelukoff.com. This is not free speech. This is grooming. In America, the citizens are the sovereigns. You, as commissioners, represent the people. Civil magistrates in the Old Testament are even called Elohim, or gods, because they serve as human representatives of God's righteousness and His justice. Therefore, we call on you as overseers of that board to ensure that Call Me Max and all material like it are promptly removed from the children's room to an adult section, and that those employees who believe that this book and others like it are suitable for children the ages of 5 to 7-year-olds be properly trained on methods and dangers of grooming children. We'll see you on Thursday, and we will be watching our prayers with Chairman Fry. Thank you for your time.
The support and encouragement that I received that evening was overwhelming. Library Director Holt was in attendance, and the gauntlet was thrown down. The appeal was originally scheduled to take place on Thursday at the Asheboro branch of the Randolph County Public Library. Because of the attention this issue was getting, that appeal was moved to the same historic courthouse where the commissioners meet. We were also assured that there would be a public comment section. Because of my desire to speak first at these meetings, I arrived 2.5 hours before the meeting. It's what I do. I expected supporters of the book to come out in droves, and I was right. There was a good representation of sober-minded Christians and conservatives and otherwise concerned citizens who showed up to support our cause of getting the book moved to an age-appropriate section, given that the book is not suitable for 5 to 7-year-olds. Over 30 people spoke during the public comments. At the commissioners' meeting, public comments are scheduled for a maximum of 15 minutes. These lasted for more than 1.5 hours. There were more there in support of the book than were on our side, and those supporting the book ranted about how we bigoted Christians wanted the book banned and burned. And for the record, no one argued for the book to be burned or even banned. On our side, consistently requested that the book be moved to an age-appropriate section. The first to speak during the public comment period was the mom who publicized this controversy. She was exemplary. County Attorney Ben Morgan moderated the meeting and alternated the commenters between those for and against. The next to speak was Mr. Eric Davis, who argued against banning the book while engaging in a list of logical fallacies and bad arguments. I spoke next. I want you to hear this speech. It's 3 minutes long, and I got to warn you that the audio is very poor. This was recorded by a dear sister in Christ at the meeting from the back of the courthouse. The reverb and the echo makes it very difficult to hear, especially if you have hearing difficulties or if you have hearing aids. But here goes.
The author's stated intent was to create an introduction to transgender identity for young children. The mission is to advance transgender visibility through youth literature while challenging societal discomfort. Your policy states, the children's collection is selected to promote literacy and reading skills, provide pleasurable reading for reading's sake, and, insofar as possible, to provide information in all fields of knowledge that are of interest to children. Emphasis is placed upon materials of high quality that stimulate imagination, mental growth, and the development of taste for good literature. But this book introduces abstract, confusing concepts such as decoupling gender from biology, clearly exceeding the concrete operational thinking of 5 to 7-year-olds, rather than mental growth. Further, it does not stimulate imagination in a traditional sense, but prompts ideological questions better suited to older teens, misaligning with the pleasurable reading for this age policy that you have. Your implied endorsement is as broadly suitable contradicts carefully selected for all ages and abilities, and it does not foster age-aligned literacy without controversy. The ALA Library Bill of Rights supports diverse views, but prioritizes appropriateness. A book targeting 5 to 7-year-olds that delves into gender dysphoria and identity fluidity does not prioritize appropriateness. It fails to meet the high-quality stimulation of mental growth and age-appropriate shelving or cataloging, given psychological research on early childhood development, and in at least 5 states, this book has been deemed inappropriate for elementary students, including Raleigh, North Carolina. The American Academy of Pediatrics 2016 policy statement warns, specifically for 5 to 7-year-olds, that introducing non-normative social scenarios can influence attitudes prematurely and confuse developmental milestones. The placement of this book in the children's room exposes the wrong material to the wrong age group and on the wrong developmental appropriateness. Look, we reject the dystopia of Fahrenheit 451. There are no firemen in the building looking to ban and to burn books. We affirm the First Amendment, but allowing an agenda-driven author to advance transgender visibility through youth literature while challenging societal discomfort by targeting and endangering development of 5 to 7-year-olds is beyond the pale. You are grossly violating your own policy. The book needs to be relocated from the children's room to an age-appropriate section. And if it please the committee or the board, may I ask that those in the building who agree with my statement, please stand.
I know that was hard to listen to, but it was easily heard in the courtroom, and the message was received loudly and clearly. The battle lines had been clearly drawn, and the tone was set for the meeting. I wish I could tell you that our powerful rhetoric melted the hearts of the board and changed their minds, but that's simply not the case. And as many noted before and after the hearing, the outcome seemed already established. The formality of the hearing was a necessary process required by their protocols. While 2 members did voice their opposition to the book's remaining in its current location in the children's room, the liberal board voted 5-2 to follow the recommendation of Director Holt. The conservatives in the room, frankly, lost the battle. But it's what we expected to happen. But in the sovereignty and in the providence of our Lord, it was a good thing. It exposed a major problem in our county government. Sensitive matters such as this are handled by an unelected group of bureaucrats who answer to no one. So think of that. In the most conservative county in North Carolina and the 6th most conservative county in the United States, we are every bit as impacted by the bloat of unelected government bureaucracy. Local government is to be the most purely representative of all the governments across our constitutional republic. But this farcical hearing revealed a painful truth. This unelected Politburo, made up of a majority of members who are in the political minority in our county, dictated their ruling from their privileged position onto the peasantry that is the people. Why do I say this travesty was a good thing? Because it revealed that even in the most conservative county in our state, and one of the most conservative in all the country, a painful truth has been revealed. The great experiment that was to be our constitutional republic, where citizens are the sovereigns, has been handed over to a ruling elite who simply smirk at the working class with seemingly no recourse. How are the citizens sovereign over their government in this situation? And I suppose that is truly rhetorical. They aren't. If unaccountable, unelected bureaucrats can blatantly thwart the will of the people without repercussion, then they're not in charge. The citizens aren't anyway. I'm reminded of Lincoln's closing words in his Gettysburg Address, where he said that that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Well, pardon the unfortunate pun, but if that government still exists in Randolph County, it exists only in bad theater. The tail is wagging the dog in Randolph County. So pray, as we call this painful truth to the attention of our elected representatives in Randolph County. Pray that representative government be rescued, And until then, we must and we will continue to fight for the protection of the most vulnerable citizens, the children.